Hello everybody, welcome to OTHD and welcome to another Jumputi Heroes video. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming roadmap, the roadmap to and just beyond the 5th anniversary. On screen you will see the translated version courtesy of Ripperman from the Discord, so shout out to him. And we are going to go through point by point what's coming up, what I may be expecting from these events, what's maybe missing from these events, from this roadmap, and yeah, there's quite a lot to go through. Starting off with the 4.5 anniversary celebration that is currently ongoing. Quite a stacked event, lots to do. Arguably, there's some issues with like the character choices, maybe the series choices. There's definitely an issue with the rubies. I really do take a problem with the rubies because the price goes up and up, and the amount of expensive sales packs goes up and up, and the number of cheap sales packs goes down and down, and the number of free rubies goes down and down. So it's not great. It's not great, but ultimately, for a half anniversary, if we consider the 4th anniversary a complete, you know, anomaly, something that just it happened and it was a mess and it didn't go to plan, and let's just scratch it and forget about it. This feels like what a half anniversary should be. I would obviously expect for the 5th anniversary, I'd expect a lot more goodies, but for the half anniversary, this is about what I would expect. I think I only really expected more simply because the 4th anniversary was so bad, and I think they were making up for it. But the character choices, series choices, I like that there's a bit of a mix, and specifically that there's some good V2s in there and stuff. Not V2s, good non-V2s, I meant to say. Like Chad. We didn't have Chad yet. Zora from Black Cloak. We didn't have them yet. It's just an issue with the series being picked. Most of the series in here, in fact, all of the series in here, is that right? I'm trying to think what all the series in the 4.5 anniversary were. I think they all had feature festivals this year. Katekyo Hitman Reborn had one. One Piece had one. Kimetsu no Yaiba had one. Weirdly, Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball didn't have one. And yeah, everything else did. So, of all the series, Dragon Ball didn't get a feature festival. But yes, pretty much everything in here had a full event dedicated to it, plus other stuff throughout the year. So, bit of a disservice in that regard. I think some of the picks were okay. It's just we're going back to the same series over and over again. That's my only real major gripe. The Ruby situation is tough, but I'm hoping that will improve over time. I'm praying that will improve over time. Next up on the roadmap, we have Bleach. Specifically, they have said there will be a Bleach anime release campaign celebration. Now, for those somehow unaware, the Bleach anime is returning after a considerable break. And when I say break, I mean it got cancelled / ended / it was done, you know? And they have decided to bring it back and cover the final arc, the 1,000-Year Blood War, which is a meaty arc. And there has been talk of there were things that were supposed to be in the manga that, due to one reason or another, couldn't be included. Time constraints, the health condition of the author, and various other things. There were fights they wanted to cover. There were characters they wanted to give more time, and there was just things that weren't quite executed in the manga as they were intended to be. And we have been told the anime is going to potentially do its best to give those moments the service they deserve. So this could be one of the biggest like anime revivals. I mean, people are already gassed about it. But the 1,000-Year Blood War, we have already covered a little bit of in Jumputi. We have a considerable amount of characters from it already. We had a 1,000-Year Blood War arc feature festival, but also there's a few other characters that came prior that were from 1,000-Year Blood War, like Shunsui was the 1,000-Year Blood War version. I think Yoruichi was the 1,000-Year Blood War version, but Renji, I'm pretty sure, was as well. But anyway, the point is, if you've looked over the course of this year, you probably get an idea that they're trying to move away from spoiling stuff for anime onlys. I don't think it's possible for them to have completely stopped doing that. I mean, purely, like, if they do a Bleach event, even if they don't cover Thousand Year Blood War, it's already in the game. So anyone who's like waited for the anime this whole time, and they're like, oh, there's a Bleach event, I'm gonna go play Jumputi. And even if you've added characters from like way back in the story, when they come on and play, they're still gonna see all the Thousand Year Blood War characters, and they're gonna be like, oh, who's that? What's that? And it shows the story of those events. So you're just gonna spoil everything anyway. So you might as well just double down on it, in my opinion. I think the two options that work the best for me are they just go for it and they just do Thousand Year Blood War. Bunch of the characters that we're missing, maybe like a Yoruichi and Urahara dual unit. Maybe a new Ichigo. I don't know. There's a lot of characters that get the spotlight during the arc at various points. A lot of them already have been covered, but they can get V2s, I suppose. There's a lot to cover from Thousand Year Blood War. There's loads for the Quincy's. Loads of them could be added as event units, so that's okay. And then there's still lots of the Soul Reapers that you could add as like Gacha and Limited. But one thing we have to bear in mind is it is almost certainly going to be 2 limiteds. That seems to be the way we are moving forward from now. Pretty much every event you see on here is most likely having 2 limiteds. So who they're going to be from Thousand Year Blood War, that's kind of tough because it depends how... I don't think they'll go right to the end. I think even if they're like, okay, we're alright spoiling a little bit of the stuff, I don't think they'd be okay going right to the end of the arc. That's kind of a dick move. Like the week or the week after the anime restarts, it's like, here's how it ends. That's a bit too much for me. So I don't know, but at the same time, I do think there is lots of good content from Bleach from earlier on that you could do. Even if you go back to like, well, we don't have a version of Kon at all. You could do a version of Kon. We don't, like, you could do like Yoruichi versus Soifon. That's kind of a big fight in Soul Society. We don't really have that. We do have Soifon and we do have Yoruichi, but not those versions. Potentially a limited Yoruichi there. They could easily redo the battle between Aizen and/or Byakuya and Ichigo and/or Renji. There's also the potential... People talk about dual units. I really feel like with the dual units, because we don't have one for Bleach, there's a good chance we could get one for Bleach. You know, because all the big series have one, but I feel like a lot of big series have better choices for what a dual unit would look like. And Ichigo's kind of a loner. Like, I know he's got like loads of friends and loads of people he fights with. It's very rare that we see like Ichigo fighting with somebody like that. I think there are instances of it, but it's not the same as like Goku and Vegeta or Naruto and Sasuke. It's not the same. You could arguably... I think I made a prediction a long time ago for like a Zangetsu, the 2 version, the inner conflict White Ichigo Zangetsu or something like that. Could be kind of cool. We still don't have Dangai Ichigo either, so could get him. And Mugetsu is so old at this point, you could do a version 2 Mugetsu Ichigo. There's so much content to cover from early Bleach. And admittedly, a lot of it will be retreading ground we've already trodden over. Like, we've already covered some of Hueco Mundo, we've already covered some of the Soul Society arc. But it would just be sort of filling in gaps and then giving V2s where justified. So I could see them doing that. And maybe have the event sort of like almost like a recap for the anime. So like, oh, the new series of the anime is coming up. Well, here's the story so far. And just fill in the gaps that we haven't covered so far. And make like a story event and make like certain characters available that probably should have been available by now. That could work, you know? I mean, I am a big advocate for Kon now. Now that we have Chad, I'm going to be pushing for Kon to be added. to Bleach, to Jumputi through Bleach, because he actually is in the game, but only in the background of the tower. He flies past every so often. It's a rare occurrence, but like, I don't know. I do like those early days of Bleach quite a lot. So going back and doing the like substitute Shinigami stuff would be pretty cool. Whether they really feel like that's the lucrative option or not remains to be seen. I would say the most likely thing that they do is, if you look over at Bleach Brave Souls right now, what they're doing, like the first banner they dropped in celebration of the anime is like Ichigo, Chad, Uryu, and it's like the same versions that were already in the game, but now it's like in the style of the anime. I don't think they're gonna do like in the style of the anime for Jumputi, but I think they might go back and just be like, here's like the first, I don't know, 20 chapters of 1,000 Year Blood War. Let's just double down and give us new versions of these characters so that we're not spoiling stuff from the end game of the series. That could be the case. Either way, I'm kind of excited for Bleach. Bear in mind, if you are one of the people that really wanted All Might and they're not sure, are you going to have enough rubies? Have you already spent some and you're not quite there yet? All Might will be running until the end of the Bleach celebration. So if you're undecided whether you should cut your losses and start saving for something else, or whether you haven't spent yet and you're not sure, Bleach, all the Bleach stuff will be available while All Might is still available. And we will probably know what is coming for the next event by the time All Might leaves. So you got time. Not for the other ones. Goku and Hibari will be gone by then, but you do have time for All Might. So just bear that in mind. Then, in terms of other stuff in October that they've announced, it was generally just quality of life stuff. At the bottom here, the UI improvements, quality of life, and the battle comment update. Those are all pretty nice, but there is still some nightmarish quality of life issues. I've just finished the Unity battle, because the Unity battle's in two parts. You have to do the first part before today, basically, and then the second part comes in a few days. And that game mode is just like, why do I have to spend so much time in the menus? I don't understand. And I just don't. It's not a very ergonomic game mode. I don't know if ergonomic's the right word, but it's just like, it doesn't scratch the itch in the same way some other game modes do. I don't feel like I'm doing something good. I don't know. Especially because there's like, I only found this out, apparently it's always been a thing, but I only found this out today. Apparently there's like an upper point cap per poster. So it's like, this is the absolute maximum points you could earn from one run. So even if you do like unbelievable amounts of damage, which I see people do, they have these crazy setups to do unbelievable amounts of damage, there is a limit to how many points you can earn per poster anyway. It's like, why? If somebody can do that much damage, reward them for it. I don't understand. But anyway, Unity Battle is a mess. Unity Battle needs some mad updates, and I don't think doing 2 Unity Battles in the same event fixes that problem, but we do get rewards from it, so I'll take it. And other than that, the UI improvements and all that stuff, I think was actually pretty good for the most part. Especially the thing where it's like, you click the button and it shows you the farmable stuff for this event, and it's like, get these 6 to max luck and you get these rewards. And it literally, like, as you tick them off, it like ticks them off on the screen, and it goes 0 out of 6, 1 out of 6, 2 out of 6. That's really cool. Good update. The bad side is, since these quality of life updates, we've had a lot more crashes and a lot more weird bugs, and we have this thing that shows up at the start every time you load up the game that says like, hey, the prices of gems have changed or whatever. And hopefully those things will be fixed. Hopefully by the time Bleach comes along, or at least by the time Demon Slayer comes along, that'll be sorted out. And we've got the voyage log and the captain's cabin. I think those 2 are necessary updates, but I do question if it was a good idea to drop the voyage log and then just remove all the key events, but then they didn't add all the events to the voyage log. They're adding them in batches. So there's certain events that for at least the next couple of months are completely inaccessible. A lot of the events that I might have recommended people go and farm at the start of the game, you can't anymore. You have to hope they're being reprinted or hope they're part of the series that are in the logbook. That's silly to me. I get the idea behind it is like, you don't want to drop all the content at once, but it's dumb. It's really dumb. And I don't think Captain's Cabin actually adds really anything to the game for me personally. But maybe as time goes on and you can customize your ship and you can maybe customize the Captain's Cabin further, I will. But I don't know. Anyway, that's pretty much October. And we're moving on to November. November, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Feature Festival. I have absolutely no idea what this is going to be. Because there is an issue, which, as I mentioned before, they're trying to not like spoil the anime and stuff. Well, the new anime season of Demon Slayer has been announced, and it's not out yet. And that's going to cover the Swordsmith Village arc, and we've kind of already covered that a little bit in Jumputi, but there's more you could get out of it, arguably. I mean, I guess. I don't really want to talk spoilers too much, because I know some people are hardcore anime onlys for Demon Slayer, so I get it. But there is more you could do from that arc, certainly. And for the final arc, there's still a decent amount more you could do. There's definitely certain things you could revisit as well. Yes, I would say that. But as far as all the series we have in the game, Demon Slayer probably has the smallest amount of content left to be adapted. It is the series that is probably going to be the most prone to version 2s out of anything. So I don't know what to think. Part of me is thinking that it might not even really be Demon Slayer. It might be that spin-off where they're at the school or something like that. Or maybe they'd cover like Rengoku Gaiden and Gyu Gaiden or something. Like we just got a new Rengoku for the anniversary, 4.5 anniversary, and this Rengoku is from a one-off chapter to promote the movie, the Mugen Train movie. So this is a one chapter Rengoku. We already had a limited one chapter, two chapter Muzan. Like, we're really getting to the point with Kimetsu no Yaiba where stuff is going to be adapted from, like, something someone said at one point in one of the novels. And it's like, oh, yeah, that could be a spin-off unit. I struggle to think what they will do, because if they do double down on the Infinite Castle arc, then any anime onlys are getting spoiled hard. They alternatively could go back and just do like a pure even if they cover the final arc, it's going to be V2 Festival. But I think something I've always said is they are going to push hard to give us at least 2 versions of every pillar. I don't necessarily know if we can get to 3 versions, but if they can get to 3 versions, they will. But certainly at least a limited and a standard gacha for every single one, and then if there is enough content left over, maybe an event unit too. I would say, yeah, that does seem quite likely. There's definitely a few examples where if you think about it hard, you'll go, oh yeah, actually that does make sense. We could get an event unit of that one. We could get a standard gacha unit of that one. Yeah. There's some characters it would be tough, because even though they're quite involved, there's not enough differentiation between versions. But especially if you include the novels and the spin-offs and the Gaiden chapters and stuff, you can probably get quite a lot of content. But again, it is almost entirely going to be V2s. So we're looking like we had the One Piece event, and it was almost all V2s. And while I for the characters they did pick as new characters to add, which was Yamato and Jinbei, while I thought that was very good picks, characters that needed to be added from One Piece, ultimately, overall, I was like, this is kind of dead. So I'm kind of feeling like Demon Slayer might be the same. Demon Slayer was one of the series where I had basically the whole character roster, and I was trying to like keep up with it. I have given up on that at this point. I've given up on that for every series, except for series that only have one character, and then they're probably not going to get much more anyway. But for like the new Rengoku, I'm not going to summon for the new Rengoku. And then there's going to be a whole event. There's going to be a whole event worth of stuff to summon for. So I'm a little bit scared for Demon Slayer because I really feel like they're struggling. Like I get it. It's so popular. But in terms of people that have been playing the game for a long time, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't like... I was okay with it getting content sprinkled throughout the year. Some people weren't, but I was okay with it. You know, like, we got, like, limited Tengen. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Limited Shinobu. Okay, sure. But when we get to the point where it's like, you're doing that, and then you're also dropping a feature festival, there's not enough content, my guy. And if they do cover the final arc, that's hyper shit for me, but for any anime onlys, I am sorry, you're getting obliterated here. Because all they're going to be able to cover is like massive spoiler stuff. So, interesting to see, at least. And we also have World Trigger. Now, World Trigger was promised to us quite a while ago, I think. Was it? It was on the last roadmap, but wasn't it on the one before that as well? I can't remember. But we got a couple of little bits of World Trigger content since then. Just like an event unit, standard gacha unit. I don't know if we got much more than that, maybe. But World Trigger is sort of in the opposite position to Demon Slayer. There's still tons and tons and tons of content to adapt, especially if we take into consideration the stuff that was added after the change of magazine, after the hiatus. Loads of popular characters who have not been added to the game yet. It only has crossover limiteds at the moment. No standalone limiteds yet. So good opportunity for World Trigger to get a standalone limited. And I mean, well, it's going to get 2, probably. Because this is just how it goes. We've been getting 2s. So it's probably going to get 2. I don't know who they're going to be. Because I feel like you kind of have to give Kuga Yuma a standalone limited. Now that he's been a part of a dual unit, and then, you know, this is the World Trigger Feature Festival. This is not a crossover with anything else. So I really feel like he deserves his own one. Beyond that, I don't know who I'd pick. Some would argue, like, Jin is like one of the more powerful characters. Maybe he deserves it, but he's already part of the cross. Like, you wouldn't do the 2 crossover limiteds and then you just take them out of their crossovers and make them standalone limiteds. I don't think. We could get Hyusu because we have the standard gacha version as the bad guy. We don't have the border agent version. So maybe there are options, and there's definitely options for standard gacha units that would just be flat out new characters. Like, I think this is one of the events that has a very good chance of being almost entirely new stuff, except for maybe the limiteds. So I'm actually quite excited to see how they handle it, and if they will push into the content from outside of Weekly Shonen Jump, the stuff from the Switcher magazine. Because they've done that in the past with other stuff, so they might do it, but it still sort of remains to be seen. Then speaking of the campaigns that's going to be coming up in November. Now, this is a bit vague. It's just talking about some kind of reading festival of some description. We don't know if this is actually going to... When you see something sharp in the campaigns, it could just be a campaign. It could just be like a throwaway thing that maybe like one character gets added. Maybe nothing gets added. Maybe there's just some rewards. Or it could just be a full event. It's a bit difficult to actually determine. And one thing I would say is, with the way this is all laid out, I mean, Demon Slayer looks like it's a feature festival. Maybe it's not. We don't know. Like, after what they did with Golden Week, where they were like, yeah, Golden Week's an event, and then it just wasn't. Like, there's every possibility that Demon Slayer is just one character or a couple of Demon Slayer characters, and it's a part of this autumn reading campaign or whatever, and they just wanted to put the hypest series from that campaign on there. I would especially argue that because we're going to have 4 feature festivals in a row, if the roadmap is to be believed. So I would say it's not impossible that Demon Slayer is just part of another event. We'll see, obviously. Demon Slayer is definitely the thing that you like to follow up anniversaries with. It's like, it's the most popular thing, the most current, most recent thing they like to follow up anniversaries with. And essentially it will be following up the anniversary because All Might will still be available while Bleach is here. So, we'll see. We'll see. But this reading campaign actually brings me on to talking about stuff I predicted that actually came off. The new rarity I predicted, and here we are. Not the character I would have chosen necessarily, but one of the characters that would have been in the shortlist, certainly, so I'm okay with that. Hibari, future Hibari was in my predictions. I had that future time-based event that I'd come up with, and I wanted a Muso Atem, we didn't get it, but I said future Hibari as a limited for the 4.5 anniversary. Boom, there he is. I also said a Dragon Ball limited. I said Trunks instead of Goku. We still don't have a limited Trunks. We still don't have that version of Trunks where he goes back to the future to kill the androids. We still don't have the dual androids as a unit either. So I'm a bit disappointed in that regard. I think Majin Vegeta is very cool. He should have had an Aura costume. He deserves it. 100% deserves it. The emblem's kind of cool, but I'm not that bothered about emblems. And yeah, Goku is... He was certainly, if you were going to do a transforming unit, he was certainly a candidate. But I'm not that interested. This is like our 3rd Super Saiyan 3 Goku. How long is Super Saiyan 3 Goku on the screen for? 20 minutes? I don't even know. Like, it's I'm just not that bothered. But, few things I got right, which I'm pretty happy about. And I am wondering whether I have got another thing right. It says, experience the story in autumn, in an autumn field of reading. I can't read. But basically, there is an autumn reading campaign. And in autumn, in November specifically, you may remember in my roadmap, I mentioned Culture Day. Culture Day, Bunka no Hi, is held at the start of November, November 3rd, and it is a public holiday that is used to promote culture, the arts, and academic endeavor. Now, I don't know about you. That sounds like it could fit. It says festivities typically include art exhibitions, parades, and award ceremonies for distinguished artists and scholars. So I'm saying, I said like Bakuman or something like that for this event. But logically, if we're talking about reading, if we're talking about like, I mean, it could be right. It might not be. I mean, there's every chance this could just be like. Sometimes when they do a feature festival for a series for the first time, they're like, go and read the series. And it could be like, oh, World Trigger, it's the first time it's had a feature festival. Go and read World Trigger. Here's like 20 rubies and here's the first 3 chapters for free. But I'm hoping it's a bit more than that. I don't exactly know what else it could be. It's very vague. It's not like some other things where it's like, oh, 20 million download celebration or whatever. Which, by the way, there isn't one. There isn't a milestone celebration on here other than the anniversary. So, very different than what we're used to. I mean, this roadmap in general is very different than what we're used to. But I don't really know what to make of the reading campaign. We'll see. But if I am right about the Culture Day celebration, I will be gassed. I don't know who I would want most to appear. Obviously, Bakuman would be cool. I don't know how it would tie into Demon Slayer. If that, well, I mean, if we're talking about scholars, you could get the school versions of the characters from yeah, that doesn't really work, does it? Well, anyway, you get what I'm saying. Moving on. Moving on, we have we have series added to the Voyage log. That's what that appears to be. I don't know if that is necessarily the case, but I think that's logically what it must be. It says series edition, but I don't think we're getting any new series in November. Maybe. But I think it is just new series being added to the Voyage log, which needs to be done. So fair enough. So we've got some in October, And also, I should point out, some of the stuff related to that is time sensitive. Most of it's not, but I think, like, say, for example, if you wanted to farm Cell, yes, it's annoying because he hasn't got stamina boost. It takes ages. But you'd be best to do it now because I think he's, like, ×2 drop at the moment, and he probably won't be after this event ends. Additionally, if you want any of the series-based emblems from the Logbook Point store, you want to get those before this event ends, because I do believe they disappear when this event ends. So that's probably going to be in November. They're going to drop another one of these where it's like double drop on all the series to get added, and some emblems for all the series to get added. So pretty cool. And maybe that ties into the reading thing. Like, if there's a bunch of series that maybe not a lot of people have read, maybe it's an opportunity to read them. I don't know. But they've also got the linking campaign. It's written here as the working together campaign. I don't really know what this is. I tried Googling it to see if other games have done something similar, and it seems like some have, but no games that I'm familiar with. So I don't really know what the campaign necessarily entails. Hopefully it's something to do with them removing the exclusive line lock on the game, and you can link to other platforms, maybe Facebook, maybe Twitter, maybe like maybe just issue a code and whatever, and then you could just save your account that way. I don't know. Maybe it's something completely different. Remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. But November's definitely an interesting month. I think a lot of people are burnt out on Demon Slayer, but that'd be very good for the game at least, because it's going to bring in lots of fans. But for World Trigger, I think a lot of people are excited to see what they're going to do with World Trigger, because so far they barely scratched the surface. The fact that the crossover event mainly focused on this tiny little arc, and it focused on characters that we don't see much of in the actual series, and then that's left us open to add a lot more characters to have a lot more time on screen. So it will be definitely interesting to see what they come up with. December. I am disappointed. Not about Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone's awesome, but November and December, and there is no Captain Tsubasa. There is no mention of the World Cup. There is no mention of sports. There is nothing. How disappointing. Now, I wouldn't rule out the possibility that part of the Christmas event could... I mean, it depends on when it starts, but if it starts mid-December, it might line up with the end of the World Cup, and then maybe they could add like a limited Tsubasa or something like that, but or Tsubasa and Misaki, maybe. I'm not getting my hopes up for stuff like that anymore. They clearly just are not interested in being consistent with that stuff. Like, yes, we have an actual event this year that is a sporting event that is going to line up with a specific day in the real world, and you're going to get a specific limited related to it on that day in Jumputi. And that is the Arima Kinen, which is the horse race, a big horse race in Japan that's held on Christmas Day, and you're going to get a Cascade limited for that Cascade from Midori no Makibao, the big horse. But not for the World Cup. No, because that's not relevant enough, not important enough. I don't really understand. I'm not going to pretend I know the exact prestige of the Arima Kinen, because I'm not Japanese, and even if I was, I don't really watch much horse racing. So maybe it's like a big deal. I find it a little bit difficult to believe that the fans of Jumputi Heroes, the people playing Jumputi Heroes, would be that invested in that. But maybe it's a bit like the Queen's Speech in the UK, although that's not happening anymore. But, you know, on Christmas Day, a lot of people did sit down and watch the Queen's Speech, even if normally they wouldn't care about, like, the royal family and politics and stuff. They might still watch that on Christmas Day as part of a family. So maybe that's what it's like in Japan. They sit down and they eat their KFC and they watch the horse race, the Arima Kinen. I don't know. But I would wager that the World Cup could have at least done with a shout out here, lads. One unit. I beg. Captain Tsubasa fans are in the mud. The sports event gave us nothing. They even had the fucking football pitch on the promo image, and they didn't have a single football playing character. And so many sports series got shafted during that. Oh my god. Let's not get back onto that, because that was not a good time. That was not a good time. We've got Dr. Stone in December. We'll ignore the fact that we haven't got the World Cup. Dr. Stone. Now, Dr. Stone, definitely deserving of a second feature festival. In terms of getting 2 limiteds, because as we said, most of these feature festivals are probably getting 2. This is where we start to get to the point where it's maybe a little bit trickier. And as we go further down this list, I think it gets trickier and trickier to pinpoint who the 2 limiteds will be. Because with Dr. Stone, I would argue Ryusui will probably be limited. I think before he would have been standard gacha, but I think now he will be limited purely because we're doing 2 limiteds. But Senku's already got a limited. Are you going to do another Senku limited? I don't think so. He's not really the kind of character that makes sense for. So you'd have to choose somebody else, but who exactly? Or you could do a dual unit maybe, like Senku and Tsukasa or something like that. There are options. It does depend how much of the story they want to cover, because bear in mind, Dr. Stone is done. It is finished. They could pretty much cover any part of the story they want. They don't have to... Well, I mean... The anime is still airing. That's the thing. They've announced season 3 of the anime, I think. So maybe they don't want to spoil stuff from the anime. But I feel like it's not the same as like a Demon Slayer in terms of spoiling the anime. I feel like with Demon Slayer, and to an extent with Bleach as well, there is a portion of people where it's like it's about the spectacle. And that's why they wouldn't want to be spoiled. Whereas I feel like Dr. Stone, the anime, is not that much of a spectacle. Just go read the manga. But with Demon Slayer, it's like crazy animation and crazy scenes. And the new Bleach anime is probably going to have a similar element, maybe not to the same degree. So I don't know if they do the same thing with Dr. Stone. There's a lot of cool characters not added yet. I would argue an actual candidate for limited might be Time Skip Suika. I think that would be quite cool. I don't know how popular she is, but still would be quite nice. Again, that's a little bit later in the story. That hasn't happened in the anime yet, so we'll see. Lots of cool characters from Dr. Stone. This is another series. So many cool characters haven't been added yet. Even characters that like actually do stuff in the story early on. Like we've only just got Taiju, and we only got the like Chapter 1 version of Taiju, and Taiju is like an important character. I think we might still get a version 2 Taiju from like the Stonewall, the actual Stonewall version, and then maybe Yuzuhira as well. Maybe this could be like a free-to-play Taiju and a gacha Yuzuhira. I don't know, but definitely I don't think we need a version 2 Taiju, but I'm saying it's a bit weird to me that the version they released was not the Stonewall one. So maybe it's on the cards. It's on the cards. We also have to remember that we got Byakuya earlier this year as just kind of like a throwaway thing that they added to the anniversary, so that it wasn't just like One Piece Fest. And is there a possibility that we could get some stuff from the Byakuya spin-off? Maybe we could get some of the other astronauts. Maybe we could get the spaceship robot. I can't remember her name. Was it Ray? I think her name was Ray, as like a legend summon or something. Entirely possible. So much content to work with. I'm actually quite excited for Dr. Stone. I think saving on this game, this is the only issue. Saving on this game has become a lot tougher because you have to save up so much more, and you can't really expect the good sales to come. You can't really expect them to give you the amount of rewards you're going to need. So you have to be so much more careful with your saving than you used to have to be. And so if, 4.5 anniversary ends, if you want to summon on like Dr. Stone, that's right before like New Year and Christmas. You could get fucked over with so much cool stuff coming out at that time, and you might not be able to get the rubies back. So it's kind of tough. I haven't decided. I think if Ryusui comes, I probably would summon him as limited. He's such a cool character. But we'll see. We'll see. Additionally, we have the Christmas event, which we know is going to be some form of like ensemble mashup type events, probably similar to last year. Last year we had It was like an event in 3 parts. I think it was Rivals, the Christmas Bowl, and something else. Christmas... Was it like Christmas Valentine or something like that? I don't know. But we got 3 limiteds from 3 separate series. It was Senna from Aisho 21. It was Kirizu Sensei from We Never Learn. And it was Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto. So I would expect the same sort of, again, like we're expecting a Cascade limited. Possibly a limited from Magical Patissier Kosaki-chan. I struggled to get that one out. Which is the Nisekoi spin-off, which we know is going to feature in this event. It says so right there. And then maybe one big series. I don't know who the big series would be. But I mean, what correlation do these series have to have? They don't have to have any correlation, really. the series didn't have any correlation last year. So, like, okay, you can make an argument for Kirizu Sensei because she's winter-themed. Her name even has Midwinter in it. And, you know, she's an ice skater, figure skater. So making her a limited during Christmas totally makes sense. Then you have Senna from the Christmas Bowl. Literally a big moment in the series that is at Christmas on Christmas Day. So obviously add him, add the character he counters, makes a load of sense as a limited for Christmas. And then you have Sasuke Uchiha, who as far as I'm aware has absolutely nothing to do with Christmas or winter whatsoever. So I would expect the same again. just some popular character that's just unrelated. Think of a random series that you feel like hasn't got enough attention this year. That's like a big series. They'll probably get it. They'll probably get it. Whether that's Dragon Ball, whether that's Naruto. Naruto definitely has got enough attention this year, but I'm saying Dragon Ball and Naruto are probably good candidates. And then they get a limit. And the argument would be, will it be 3 limiteds or will it be more? Because last year it was 3, and this year we have significantly ramped up the amount of limiteds we're getting. Bear in mind, something we have noticed, something that we are seeing an actual trend for over the years, is they slowly trend towards releasing less standard gacha units as the year closes out. And then when the new year starts, they normally start off with a bang with new standard gacha units. And the reason for that is, anything they add to the standard gacha pool in December will be added... Sorry, anything they add as a standard gacha unit, as a new hero in December, will be added to the standard gacha pool in January, and will be available... Or was it February? I can't remember. January or February. And then will be available from choice tickets from the middle of the year. So that only gives them like a 6-month or so exclusivity lifespan before they're available in choice tickets. Whereas if you add them in January, they will not be available from choice tickets for over a year and a half. So that's when they're going to want to add more standard gacha units. And in December, you might get 1 or 2. So potentially, characters being upgraded from standard gacha to limited at that point. I could see them doing 4 limits for Christmas. I hope not. But I could see it happening. And Jump Festa. Now, Jump Festa, I see a lot of people getting excited about Jump Festa because if you're unaware, Jump Festa is a celebration of everything Jump. It is a festival. It is more of a convention, I would say. And it celebrates everything Jump. And when I say everything Jump, I'm not talking about just weekly Shonen Jump. Because there's more to Jump than that. And I mean, even if I were to show you the promo image, which I may or may not edit in, depending on if I remember, it's more than just one series. It's more than just one magazine. There's characters in there from Jump Square. There's characters in there from V-Jump. There's characters in there from Young Jump. There's characters in there from Shonen Jump Plus. And even some other random spin-off stuff. So there is loads of stuff on there. There's a reason they didn't show the actual promo image and they just showed the logo. Because I think... I don't think the stream chat could have handled seeing Yuji Itadori on the live stream as part of the roadmap. I think it would have caused severe, widespread brain damage and just an absolute meltdown in the chat because people are so thirsty for the series that have come out since like the game has launched. So anything from 2018 and onward. People are so thirsty for those series to be added to the game. I'm one of those people. I want it too. Like if I saw Chainsaw Man added to the game, I'd go nuts. But it would be a bit tough, I think, showing that off. Now, people are speculating, does this mean any number of things? I mean, I even made a video a little while back and I said they need to start looking at adding stuff from other places, not just Weekly Shonen Jump, or at least stuff from later in the magazine's lifespan after 2018, more recent, more relevant series. Like, we're getting another Demon Slayer feature festival. We kind of need to be done with Demon Slayer for a little bit, is all I'm saying. Like, until you're ready to do the final arc and make that a feature festival, we kind of need to be done with Demon Slayer, except for, you know, in a few different celebrations you could add in like a limited from it or whatever. But imagine you replace that Demon Slayer with Jujutsu Kaisen. Imagine you replace one of the other series. I don't really want to replace one of the other series, but like, even if it was Bleach, if you replaced the Bleach with like Chainsaw Man or whatever, people will go nuts for that. And also in this promo image, you can see Dragon Quest doesn't have a feature festival. You can see series like the new Prince of Tennis and Dragon Ball Super, which are like continuations of the existing series. No reason they couldn't somehow feature in Jumputi. The Jump Plus series like Spy Family are so popular. And if we could get stuff like Blue Exorcist, obviously I'd go nuts. Yeah, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff. Now, what we're actually realistically going to get as part of this campaign, nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. There is no real indication that this is going to be a chance for them to add new series. They have said later on in the roadmap that they will add new series, but it's tough because I even said in one of my videos, I did think that Jump Festa would be the time to announce stuff that would be coming late next year. Like, because if you think about it, loads of stuff relating to Jump games and Jump content for the 50th anniversary was announced at Jump Festa, or was updates on that information on those games was given at Jump Festa. And it's a good time to promote the game. And if we are, from the 5th anniversary onwards, from the 55th anniversary onwards, or whatever, going to be getting series that we want, that came out in other magazines, or from spin-offs, or from after 2018, if we are going to get that stuff, this would probably be the time to announce it. Or this would be a great time to say, guys, 5th anniversary live stream. We know it's not for a little while. It's going to be at the end of March. We're going to have a crazy announcement, and then announce it there. But definitely a good opportunity to promote the game. I've always said that, like, if the devs are really dedicated to actually promoting the game and using cross promotion in the way that some other games do, like, you've got to get involved with all of the Jump stuff. You've got to get involved in advertising in the magazine regularly. Weirdly, they were like, oh, Gintama event, let's advertise twice. But then for some of the other stuff they haven't advertised, I'm pretty sure we will be in Jump this week. I haven't had a look yet, but it's just, it should be sort of like a like, almost every event should be advertised in Jump, in my opinion. And you should just try and take stuff that's relevant and run with it. I mean, Dragon Quest is a clear example. It's a little bit short-sighted to say, oh, there's an anime revival, so it should get an event. It's more than that, because Dragon Quest is doing a madness at the moment. This is an actual, honest-to-God, full-on revival of the series. We're seeing new games and new, like, merchandise and spin-off content, and the spin-off manga looks incredible. It looks actually incredible. Jump Plus series, by the way, so it's still Jump. And yeah, it's just like, this is the perfect time to give that series some attention, and it's nowhere to be seen on the roadmap. So if the devs are going to get involved, Jump Festa could be the time to say, okay, we've heard you. There's a reason we couldn't say this stuff before, but we're saying it now. Here's all the content you want to see. Now, I would like to point out that I have many occasions said, this or that would be the perfect time for this or that to come out. 1010 is a perfect example when I was like, why would they use 1010? Because that's obviously going to make people think it's Jujutsu Kaisen. So it's the perfect time for them to announce Jujutsu Kaisen. They have to know that they're baiting people. They have to know that it's just, it can't run. You can't just tease people like that. And they just tease people like that. So anytime where I say like, this is the perfect time to do it, we know what these devs are like. So let's not get carried away. But this roadmap definitely shows a bit of a shift in focus for the game. So it's possible. It is possible. I would at least expect a big announcement for Jumputi during Jump Festa. What that announcement may be, I hope it will be, but it could be anything as much as just like new limiteds coming out, new characters coming out, a new series being added to the game, whatever. But I hope it's this big announcement that it's going to have some sort of partnership with other Jump series. We'll see. We'll see. And then in December, we also have the increase to the My Ship rank cap, which is fine, I guess. Conditional / random adventures. Now, what this seems to be is some kind of new game mode. Perhaps it'll be something along the lines of you can only challenge the stage with units that are this class, or you can only challenge this stage with Sensei characters, or you can only use characters that are of a certain rarity or of a certain skill level, or whatever. It's going to be some sort of restrictive event that, I don't know. I don't really know how you'd implement this, actually. But potentially this is just going to be them looking at other games and seeing what they're doing and stealing some of their content. Which I have said many times before, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. If you steal content, as long as you're stealing the good stuff, we're all happy. And the Super Dimensional Battle Update, I've talked about it in the past, what I think that'll be. I think it'll most likely be something along the lines of them adding a store to it and revamping how the rate ups and stuff work. So looking forward to seeing what they do with that. And then for New Year, we have Bobobo. Not just Bobobo, of course. We have Bobobo. Technically, isn't it like Bobobo, Bobo? Anyway, we have that, and we have a New Year event of some description, possibly some kind of downloads thing, or possibly just New Year themed, which is not uncommon. And it says like that series or something like that. It says there's like a series that's going to be featured. I don't really know. I don't know if any of the series they've announced actually fits that bill. I personally think if there is a new series added, because it does mention a new series added, I think it's possible we could be talking about Stone Ocean here, because Stone Ocean is added in January as well. But assuming that series part is to say a new series added, I think it'll probably be that Naruto spin-off. The Hokage and the Scarlet Springs, because it's nowhere else on here, and they mentioned it a long time ago and it hasn't been added since. So unless the backlash was so bad on that one that they were like, no, we can't add this, people will go nuts. I have a feeling that's where it'll be. I think that's the most logical place for it to be, and I don't know what they're going to do with it. Maybe just like a limited and a standard gacha or something. Maybe it's like a mini feature. I don't know. But there's no Naruto this year. There's always Naruto January. And there's no Naruto this year. No Boruto either. So logically, that makes the most sense. What will happen with the rest of the event, I don't really know. But they have promised us a new Jewel unit. That Jewel unit. Now, you remember last time they said that Jewel unit. We got so gassed up about all the different characters it could be. And it was Tanjiro and Giyu. And I think a lot of people were disappointed. I was kind of... At that point, I'd kind of accepted that Kimetsu no Yaiba was the one that always comes back. So, you know, it's to be expected. I think this year, it won't be Kimetsu no Yaiba. I think it'll be Black Clover. Almost certainly, I think it will be Yami and Asta. Purely because they've told us Yami and Asta were in their plans for the Black Clover event, and they changed their mind. So I think it's almost certain that unit is done and it's ready and they're going to add it and it's going to be added for New Year. Whether that excites you or it disappoints you, just know that it's a very, very real possibility. And beyond that, the only other dual unit I can think of that could be that dual unit is Light and Ryuk, purely because a lot of Japanese players obviously know that that's come out on the Tier 1 version of the game, and they want to see it added to the Japanese version, so maybe we'll see Light and Ryuk. I don't know. But yeah, January has potential to be interesting. I don't really know Bobobo that well. From what, like, I tried to read it, I did try, and I got about 5 chapters in, and I could just feel my brain melting. It's like, I don't mind a good gag manga, but it's like, it's heavy. For a gag manga, it lays the gag on thick, and I just, I couldn't compete. But January, I mean, New Year typically is like a big event, huge event even, and they always have like a signpost limited to lead us into the new year. Ever since Mugetsu Ichigo was like a huge deal added for New Year, they always have this huge unit, this unit that they can sell the whole event on. And then they had a bunch of other cool stuff. So I'm expecting a decent amount of standard gacha units. I'm expecting like a good spread, some good rewards, but I'm expecting the billboard limited to be added. And I think it'll probably be Yami and Asta. I don't know if they're probably big enough to hold the event. They will add like a second limited, most likely. They'll add like other standard gacha units and other good stuff for you to get involved with. But they normally have one limited to bring in the new year, and I think that's who it's going to be. And as for Stone Ocean, justified in getting its own feature festival. I think in my head, I always felt like it should be a feature festival, but part of me did feel like maybe it will just be added in bits and pieces throughout the year. But that's just not how you should handle it. And I realize as I'm saying this, that's basically how Netflix has handled the series, and a lot of people are disappointed in that. And I wonder if part of the reason why it's taken us so long to get part 6 is because since the anime was announced, up until the anime coming out, up until now, the handling of the anime has been very poor by its distributors. And I think there's been a lot of complaints and a lot of disappointment. And ultimately, what do you do as the devs of this game? Like, when is the best time to release this? Because if they release a batch and people are disappointed with how the batch is handled, is that the best time for the series to get a feature festival? Because people are disappointed, they might not want to play. Or maybe it would have the opposite effect. Maybe it would be, I'm so disappointed with how Netflix have handled this. Oh, Jumputi are doing it properly. Let's go get involved. And there's still the issue of like spoilers, like how far into the series do you want to go? I think they might do the same thing they did with part 5, where they include characters from later on, but they're not going to give us the final version of Pucci. They're not going to give us like the final fight in the manga, but they will give us like you probably get version 1 Pucci. We kind of got to get 2 limiteds, so I'm wondering. See, this is the problem. I say 2 limiteds. Like, how does this work? Because they seem to be going 2 limiteds for every event. Who would be the 2 limiteds for Jojo? Bear in mind, I think a lot of people would say, oh, just Pucci. Listen, Dark Hero limiteds are rare. They are so rare now. The devs just don't seem to like doing it. I don't know what their reasoning is behind that, but I think the feeling is this is not something we're going to do often. So it's not going to be Pucci. If Diavolo and if Dio and if Kira actually Dio did get a limited, but if Kira couldn't get one for Bites the Dust, like I don't see Pucci getting one. Now I don't know. Do you just do like a limited Jolene and a limited Jotaro? Because I always find it really disappointing when the limited is the protagonist and then there's like no standard gacha version. Like with Siren, like there's no standard gacha version of Ageha. If you're a fan of Ageha, you have to pull for the limited. That kind of sucks. And I don't know, like if you're doing early in the series Jolene, there's no real moment to make her a limited. You'd have to do later in the series, and That's a bit tough. And the way I pictured it was Jolene and Jotaro dual unit limited. And then maybe like a standard gacha Jolene as well. But I don't know if they will do that. I'm a little bit torn. I'm excited for this event. I do like part 6. It's a good part. In my eyes, it's like I'll probably get some hate for this, but part 7, part 8, I've said it before. The fact that we moved away from a storyline that I was really enjoying, and we've just sort of completely nullified and deleted that story as we've moved on to a new series. Basically, Stillball Run is like, we're done with part 6, and we're done with all of that stuff, and now it's just a whole new story. And I get that loads of people enjoy that. That's fine. I have no problem with you guys enjoying that. Go nuts. But for me, it was just like, I was really enjoying that story, and it kind of just ended, and that was it. Like, I don't feel like I got the sort of closure I wanted. I don't feel like the storylines were resolved in the way I wanted them to be resolved. Just feels a bit empty. I don't know. So part 6 was like the last part of that old story that I really liked, and I'm excited to see it adapted. I'm really hoping that they give the right characters standard gacha units. Like if Foo Fighters isn't standard gacha, that would be quite disappointing, sort of thing. So I'm hoping they do. Like, I know with part 5, they pulled out all the stops. They had loads of standard gacha units, so I think they probably will do that again. But I'm quite excited for that. I don't know how they're going to squeeze 2 limiteds out of it, but I won't be surprised if they do. And in terms of other stuff they announced for January, new gimmicks and a new technique, which we don't have much info on it, but the new gimmick is called Fawn Bubbles, and I would imagine this is somewhat similar to the Fawn debuff in Kotodaman, where any chains you make that include a bubble that has a fawn on it, you take damage for it. And potentially that could be something where the fawns spread if you don't clear them, so you have to clear them before they spread too much, and then you take too much damage for bursting them, or you have to convert them or something. That's what I imagine would be the case, and then maybe they'll have a character that's just like reduced fawn damage received, or maybe like a support ability that like destroys fawns or whatever. I don't know. But the way it works in Kotodaman is like the fawns appear around the bubble, so it doesn't matter which bubble's in there. So theoretically, if you had like fawns appear on the board, you could use bubble conversion. It would convert the bubble. The bubble would still have fawns around it. You need to clear the bubble somehow. You can't just convert it. That's what I think is what they would probably do. So like arguably this could be a resurgence in units that burst bubbles rather than convert them, because if you convert it, it's still got fawns around it, but if you burst it, it's gone and you don't take the damage. And then maybe there's characters that remove it and whatever. Just a theory. But yeah, that's maybe something they could do. I don't know. Moving on to February. Now February is a bit of a mad one. The return of Sensei features, which hasn't been in the game for years. We've only had one Sensei feature, and it was the Asuta Sensei Feature Festival, and that was around Christmas time a few years ago. And we got like Bushizawa Receive added to the game, and we got more content for Sexy Commando Gaiden and for Jaguar, who at that point Jaguar only had one character, so I think they fleshed out the roster for that as well. And honestly, it was a great event, and this is going to be taking the next step onwards from that, because that one added one new series. This one is going to be adding 3 new series. We're going to see Anedoki, Hatsukoi Limited, or First Love Limited, and Lilim Kiss added to the game. And for those that don't know, Kawashita Sensei is the one that made Ichigo 100%, which is obviously already in the game. And they've shown us already 8 characters that are in development for this event. Now, this is probably going to be the entire roster of the event, I would imagine, because 8 characters is about right. But then again, it's a Sensei feature. Like, we haven't had one of these in so long. Who knows? But I would say most likely this would be it. But again, questions arise. We've been doing 2 limiteds per event. What would you do with this event? Because this really feels like an event that you'd have like standing gacha. Like the last Sensei feature didn't have a limited. So how would this, like, maybe you make Nishino a limited, but then people would say, so you have Ichigo 100%, you've got like 4 versions of Iron, none of them are limited, and then you make Nishino a limited. They're kind of showing favorites, aren't we? There's a lot of questions to be asked here. I'm actually very interested to see what the execution will be like for this event, because it has high potential moving forwards. If they do maybe like 1 or 2 of these a year, like think about how many different series you could choose, or different mangaka you could choose that have other series they're related to that they could bring into the game. It's quite cool. Now, whether or not they handle it well remains to be seen, because they could always release this event and then be like, this is a bit risky, let's at the same time drop another limited from another series or whatever. Bear in mind, this is in February. In February, we will be getting the Tower anniversary, and we'll be getting the Sparks of a Lost Civilization anniversary. So they could very easily do limiteds for those 2 campaigns, and then like maybe not do one for this, or maybe only do one for this. But I don't know. I'm gonna stay on the positive side. I think very cool. 3 new series added in one event, which hasn't happened in God knows how long, and it's 3 series. They're all related. It's like it's just a lovely little event. If you're not a fan, there will be other stuff on. Don't worry about it. There'll be other stuff on. Like, you ain't got, like, there's loads of series in here that I'm probably just gonna like sit through. Like this year with Gintama, I just kind of sat through it, but it's fine. Like, you'll still have stuff to do. You'll be okay. It'll be all right. And I think sprites look lovely from what we've seen so far. So very cool. And we also have, sorry, I should have mentioned, that's part of a sweet and sour Valentine's Day celebration. So there could be more Valentine's Day stuff. Bear in mind, looking back, we were supposed to get the quote-unquote June Brides event that never happened. There's every possibility that some characters could be left over from that could be switched over to Valentine's Day. So I don't know if the Sensei feature is all we're going to get, but I have noticed in the past, February, they try to cram a lot of stuff into February, even though it's the shortest month. So February could be a little bit crazy. And that Valentine's Day event is followed by Haikyu. Haikyu, very deserving of a feature festival. I mean, we've mentioned it before. Actually, this is the second one. This is the second one, isn't it? This is the second feature festival. It's going to have 2 limiteds this time, probably. Maybe we finally get a standalone Hinata. That could be kind of cool. I don't know what they're going to cover, because pretty much... what happened with the anime? Is the anime finished? Has the anime covered everything? I don't even know. But the manga's definitely done. That was finished ages ago, so... they can cover pretty much whatever they want, I think. I don't know which characters I would specifically choose. Like, I really wanted Bokuto to be added, and then he was added, and he was an event unit, and I was a little bit disappointed. And there's not a lot of characters that I would recommend as like a limited necessarily. So I'm a little bit torn. Maybe they'll do like a version 2 Oikawa as a limited. That might make sense. I don't really know. But definitely they're going to finally add Asahi. That'd be nice. But other than that, I don't know. I think in terms of sports series, it probably needed a feature festival the least. It's probably the only one that's actually got proper attention, other than maybe Prince of Tennis. So, I don't know. And in February, we're also getting another Maya ship rank increase. I think we're slowly moving to the point where we're going to be at level 100, because I think level 100 is probably where you're going to unlock the customization, I would imagine. And then moving on to March. Now, this... I probably have no right getting gassed over this, but this is another thing that I got correct, and I'm kind of gassed about. Medaka Box, obviously they had announced the feature festival, but I said it makes perfect sense to be the first feature festival in March, and then lead into a crossover event. And boom! Medaka Box, first event in March, leads into a crossover event. Not the crossover event I would have chosen, but I did say it would be White Day, feature festival, crossover event, whatever, and it is a White Day crossover event. So I kind of got March pretty good. Talking about Medaka Box needed a feature festival so bad. It got the first sort of like prototype feature festival before they were a thing. Doesn't have a limited to its name. Does have a few characters at this point, but a lot of them have really old sprites that are not that good. Zenkichi is probably still my favorite character from the series. I think, probably. There's a lot of good characters in the series, that's the thing. I'd like a version 2 Zenkichi, a proper one. The one we've got is like standard gacha, but he's like a 4-star or whatever. It's like it's kind of dead. Like I want a proper one, proper Zenkichi. We need a proper limited Medaka. We'll probably get 2 limiteds, and I feel like this one, Medaka and Kumagawa just make the most sense to me as the 2 limiteds. And I think that, like, if you're trying to appease Medaka Box fans, that's probably the way you would go about it. And in terms of the standard gacha, there's a lot to work with. You've got a whole series to work with, so I don't know who I would necessarily pick, but I'm hoping Zenkichi is in there, like a good standard gacha. Or if he can be an event unit, that would also be very cool. Like if he had like an aura costume or whatever, I'm fine with that. Just give me a new sprite, please. Very excited for Medaka Box. It's probably coming... I don't know, it's coming at a bit of a troubling time because it's before the 5th anniversary, but the early part of next year, I don't necessarily know what I would be summoning for. I'm not 100% certain, so we're open to the possibility that maybe Medaka Box is something I would summon on. It depends on who they choose and depends on what happens in the other events. But the one that follows it is Black Cat and To Love Ru. Now, Black Cat and To Love Ru, by the same author, which is pretty cool. I would say I'm a little bit disappointed that it is happening now. And the reason I say that is because I have a feeling that at some point they will say we're doing Shonen Jump Plus stuff, or we're doing stuff from later on in the Weekly Shonen Jump lifespan, 2018 plus. And when they do say that, then Ayakashi Triangle will be on that list. It'll be one of the series definitely getting added. And this would have been the perfect opportunity to introduce Ayakashi Triangle. To have the crossover event. It's not a Sensei feature, it's a what are they called? Grand Alliance Festival or whatever. Do that, and then just add like 1 or 2 characters from Ayakashi Triangle and be like, guys, later on in the year, Ayakashi Triangle Feature Festival, and then that would be perfect. That'd be perfect. I have read To Love Ru, and I've read To Love Ru Darkness. I have read little bits of Black Cat. I don't necessarily know who they're gonna pick. To Love Ru has no limiteds right now. Black Cat has 1 limited, and that definitely is a bit of a weird situation because it was released first on Taiwan, and it's during a period where they have decided everything from Taiwan is not getting demoted anymore. It's going to come over as, if it's a limited over there, it'll be a limited over here. At least that's what they seem to be trying their best to do. And if that is the case, then that's probably, you know, if they released Sephiria 2 years ago, I could definitely have seen a downgrade to event unit to standard gacha, which is not doing justice to the character from what I understand, but it's a very Jumputi move. It's the kind of thing they do. They did it to Athena, and they'll do it to all your favourites. But it's a bit of a weird situation. The reason it's a bit of a weird situation is because these series, I mean, To Love Ru has a decent amount of content. A lot of the important characters have already been added at this point. Black Cat, some of the most important characters are still not in the game. So I guess that's kind of what they did with the World Trigger My Hero Academia one. My Hero Academia, pretty much all the best characters, not all of them, but you know, most of the important ones were already covered. So it was more a case of, hey, what's World Trigger missing? And World Trigger has like a decent roster now. But they definitely got a lot of important characters added, and it's been a good stepping point for them to move on. But then we're coming into this one where it's you know, same thing. Talovru has most of the roster already. Black Cat is still missing a lot of their roster, but Black Cat is the one that already has a limited, and Talovru doesn't. Whereas it was the other way around last time. My Hero Academia had limiteds, but World Trigger didn't. So I don't know. I guess they'll do crossover limiteds again, but I don't know how that's gonna play out. Who would be the obvious picks? I don't even know. Because the thing is, like, Yuki Rito and Train Heartnet, it's just... They're too different. They're too different. Like, I don't know about the ins and outs of their personalities necessarily, but it's the fact that you've got, like, the harem protagonist, and then you've got, like, the guy who's, like, actually a main character of his story. So I don't... Like, how... You can't... I don't know. It's really weird. It's exciting... Because it's different. It's definitely different. You could say this roadmap, out of all the roadmaps we've had, is different. So, I don't know what to expect. It says a slapstick white day. So, maybe... I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I'm excited. That's all I'll say. I'm excited. And they are also working on, for this month... an update that is going to add the hidden potential system. I think it's called panels on here, which is actually what the game mode's called, but I have co-opted the name hidden potential system from another game that will remain nameless, because that's essentially what it is. You are leveling up these little panels, and you are unlocking additional stats for your character, also potentially new skills, new abilities added to skills, and just generally speaking, strengthening your character over time. I am happy this has been included because I think it has high potential to make older units better and more usable in a balanced manner, but it also has the potential to go a little bit rogue. If you've seen OPTC, there's a sort of potential system in OPTC. I think it's called Limit Break over there, but we already have a Limit Break over here, so we've gone with a different name. And you have these little orbs, and you power up these little orbs, and you use these little crystal gem thingies, and it levels up your character's like abilities. They unlock extra slots for additional, I can't remember what they're called, character skills or whatever. And it's great. It is great up until a point, because a lot of the stuff they added in there was very good, and it made the characters more powerful, but you had to play this game mode called Treasure Map, which was AIDS. It was AIDS. It was only available for like a few days every so often. It wasn't even, I don't even know if it was every month or what, but it was like, it was just available for a few days, and it required insane amounts of grinding. Think about Unity Battle, but more AIDS. A more AIDS version of Unity Battle. That's what it was. And I say was, I mean, it's still a thing. It's still a thing. And that game mode was where you got all of the items for Limit Break, including a special key. And the key, you had to rank a certain amount to get the key. Like, it was just a nightmare to get your hands on one of these keys. And those keys unlocked abilities in your character that could make them significantly better. But because you only got one, you probably wouldn't use it on a character that's like, oh, they've got a buff and they're a lot better now. You'd use it on a character that you've pulled recently that's got a Limit Break batch and a key addition, and they're like super OP when you use the key on them. So even though the old characters did get buffed, the opportunities to bring out their hidden potential, you just didn't take them, because it was just much better to focus on the newer characters that were much stronger. So it became a bit of a problem. I'm hoping Jumputi can balance it a bit better. Remember, it's okay to steal from the other games, but if they do something wrong, there's no reason you can't just improve upon what they've done. So I'm hoping they'll improve upon it. It's one of those things that has high upside potential, but it could just so easily go wrong. It could so easily be poorly handled. So we will have to believe in them for now. It's not coming out till March, so we've got a long time to wait. And adventure difficulty level, I am thinking, could also be another thing they steal from Ori. Bloody hell, from PTC. Because I think the this, I think I've mentioned this before, but the training islands in OPTC where you fight, instead of doing a stage where it's like maybe 3 enemies, then 2 enemies, then 3 enemies, then a boss, and it's like 4 stages, it'd be like 20 stages. And they get increasingly harder as they go on, and they get increasingly more difficult to deal with up until the last boss, and it's like really difficult. And the idea is you got to clear all 20 in one. So as it's getting more and more difficult, you'll get to stages where it's like, well, you have to kill this enemy before this one, otherwise they're going to kill you. And it's just like, it was very methodically thought out. I think it's one of the shining examples of actually a very cool thing OPTC had that they moved focus away from to do other stuff. And I think it would be a great thing for Jumputi to steal and potentially improve upon. Especially for series that have a lot of content. Because you could do, like, say for example, Bleach. You could do like a Soul Society training forest. And it could start you off at like the start of the Soul Society. And then you'll slowly fight your way through the different Soul Reapers. Right up until the end where you'll fight Aizen. That would be sick. I don't know. I don't know what the rewards would look like. I'm hoping they would be good, because in OPTC, the main reward is you get a new ship. And we don't really... I mean, we have the My Ship update, but it's not the same. Because over there, the ship is like something that you passively have active on your team. And it gives certain abilities to your team, like HP increase or attack increase, or increases the amount of drops and whatever. So I don't know what the exact implementation would be on Jumputi, but as I mentioned in my predictions and things I'd like to see from Jumputi, if they wanted to add some kind of relic system, souvenir system, equip system, and they wanted to give us items from that there, like for example, if you beat the Bleach Soul Society training forest and you defeat Aizen, you get the Hogyoku. And if you have the Hogyoku active in your team, then all characters get a certain buff or whatever. Like, if they did that, amazing. An amazing addition to the game. I know some people would argue that, like, we have other game modes that sort of scratch the itch for, like, challenging content now, which we didn't have before. But I think this is a different kind of challenging content, because it's long form, not short form. And with the long form stuff, like, I know you have still, like, catastrophe class stages where you fight one boss or 2 bosses and it's like 20 turns, 30 turns, whatever. But this would be 1 boss, then 2 boss, then 3 boss, then 4 boss, then 5 boss, and it goes on and on and on. And each one has slightly different things you have to deal with, and slightly different ways you'd have to prepare. It would be a different... You could release different characters that act in different ways that wouldn't be relevant in the current meta for PvE and for PvP, but for this game mode might be relevant. So there's potential there. I really think there's potential there. But I've been talking about them adding a training for us to Jumputi for a long time, and it hasn't happened, so let's not get our hopes up. Then in April, the 5th anniversary, of course, we will have a 5th anniversary celebration, which will obviously go nuts. Now, I should mention something about Legends or Densetsu or whatever you want to call it, whatever All Might is. Most likely, the next one we will get will be here, 5th anniversary. I say most likely because they seem to be suggesting that that is when the next one would come. However, they also said if one comes out on the Taiwan server and we think we want to release it on the JP server, we'll try and do that in a timely manner. And they're sort of removing the restriction from themselves of releasing one every 6 months. And it's more a case of, we're going to do what we're going to do, and they're going to come out when they're going to come out, but we're aiming for the big celebrations of the year. We're not just going to do it willy-nilly, we're going to think about it, and we're going to try and give you fair warning. Now, logically, the next one after the 5th anniversary would be part of the celebration on Taiwan. Taiwan having their anniversary celebration after ours, a couple of months after ours. So maybe we'd get their celebration at the same time, and we'd get a new... While they're getting the Muso that we... Not Muso, Legend, whatever. While they're getting the one that we got for the 5th anniversary, we'll get the one they got for the Chinese New Year. Which is what happened last year. But maybe this time they'd give us more rubies, they'd give us more warning, whatever. There is also an argument, however, that the Taiwan version has their half anniversary around December. More specifically, on the same day as the start of Jump Festa. Now, this would put them in a position where if they did want to release a new one then, they could release a new one then, and they could say, we're going to announce at Jump Festa that this is coming out on the Tier 1 server today, it's coming out on the JP server for New Year, or it's coming out for Christmas, or whatever. Like, they could easily do that. I'm not saying that they will, however, I would like to give people fair warning to exercise caution when summoning, because they're not giving us as many rubies as they need to, and they're not giving us as many good sale packs as they need to, and the limiters are removed. If they want to release something, they're not going to restrict themselves anymore, they're just going to release it. So just always have that in the back of your head when you're summoning. If it's something where you're like, do I really want this? Probably side towards no rather than yes, just so that you can save in case something crazy drops. And if it's something you really want, then just go for it, obviously. But that's just my fair warning about the new rarity and how that might be handled. But yes, most certainly we will be getting a new Densetsu for the 5th anniversary. That is all but confirmed. I think it is definitely happening. And they have also said, you know, new stuff added to the logbook and a new exchange, which I believe is the thing they talked about on the stream about some sort of compensation for gacha units. You know how at the moment, if you get a gacha unit, you can trade it in for like medals, and you can trade those in for rewards at the event exchange. Well, it seems we'll be moving into a more improved version of that soon enough. I think it'll be something along the lines of the Rayleigh store in OPTC, where you just trade in the characters you receive dupes of for points or whatever, and then you can trade that in for valuable items, you can trade that in for a chance at like another limited or whatever. And it's just a better way to reward you for pulling dupes, because it's like, at the moment, if you pull a dupe like, I don't know, Gear 4 Luffy limited or whatever, you can either feed it and get some skill levels or some luck on your character, or you can sell it for basically nothing worthwhile. So I think they're trying to improve that, and so if you do pull a dupe of a limited and you don't want to feed it in, you could sell it, you can earn some points and potentially trade that in for some luxury rewards. So pretty cool. Definitely something that needed to be added. I don't really know why they didn't just rehandle how the Pooty Medal Exchange was done, because, I mean, ultimately that is the feature they're talking about adding, selling gacha characters to get something you can trade for rewards. I mean, that's what that is, but I think they're trying to separate it from that and make it its own thing. Obviously, this is like 5th anniversary. It's a little while away. But I am excited for this. This is an update that needed to happen. So, very, very cool. And I feel like there was something I forgot to talk about. Oh, the Limit Break update. I forgot to mention the Limit Break update. That's happening as well. And I'm very excited. Very, very excited. I can't remember when they mentioned that was going to be happening. Was it February? It's February. Limit Break update in February. I am so excited because it's such a small thing, but literally I have so many Limit Break doors right now. I have so many characters I want to Limit Break. I refuse to do it. I'm not going to sit there and level 1, accept, wait for it to load. Level 2, accept, wait for it to load. Level 3, accept, wait. It takes so long. It takes so long. But that's coming in February, and I'm very excited for that. And they have announced a new transforming unit for the 5th anniversary. So similar to Goku, similar to Asta. What exactly is it going to be? I don't know. Probably a One Piece unit. If we're playing safe bets, probably a One Piece unit. Though we already have a One Piece transforming unit. It's not a gacha unit, it's a free unit. But maybe they choose a different series. I don't know. What Naruto doesn't have one. What could Naruto get as a transforming unit? Like, there's a few, I guess. You could use, like, Kid Naruto and he transforms into, like, One Tail or something, or... I mean, there's options. There's certainly options. There's too many options, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know who I would predict that would be. But if it ends up being a Kimetsu no Yaiba unit, I'm not surprised. Not at all. I'm not... Even if it's like, oh, you know what? It's going to be Tanjiro. It's going to be... They're going to have Tanjiro and he's going to have, like, the water... the water breathing style as his ultimate attack. And then you're going to switch him and he's going to have the fire breathing style. I'm telling you, that's what it's going to be. It might not be, but safe bets would be on something from Kimetsu no Yaiba or some other hyper-popular series. So look forward to that. And we have a new ability called Multi-Chain. I'm not exactly sure what Multi-Chain's going to be. I mean, it might be like... I mean, it's some sort of bubble ability. It's almost certainly going to be given to the Densetsu character that's released. And we can assume it's going to be very strong because the abilities they gave to All Might are so powerful. So I think it's going to be something of similar quality. But I don't know. Maybe it'll be like if you... I don't know. Like if you pop a string of bubbles, maybe it's like if they link up to any more bubbles after that, it'll pop those as well or something. I don't know. But it's obviously going to be super powerful, so look forward to that. And then we move on to after the anniversary. Kuroko no Basuke finally getting a feature festival. I would argue this should have come before Haikyu getting its second feature festival. But then again, I don't know what they're going to cover from Haikyu. Because I feel like Aomine should have been limited, and they've kind of made him an event unit. Kuroko and Kagami is kind of like the big deal limited. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to do a version 2 Kuroko as a limited? I don't know. And then I guess the second limited would be Akashi because it kind of needs to be. And then Midorima as standing gacha. And then maybe do like a V2 of the others like Kisei and Murasaki Bara. Might make sense. I don't know. There's still a few characters missing from that series, but... It doesn't feel the same as some other series, you know, like with Haikyu, I feel like there probably is a lot more missing that should be added. I feel like it's not going to have to rely as hard on version 2s. I feel like Kuroko's going to have to rely quite hard on version 2s. Mainly because the series is just so focused on the Generation of Miracles, whereas other sports series do spend time telling you about how all these other teams are so amazing and they have such cool personalities that you really want to summon for. So I don't know how Kuroko's feature festival is going to look, but bear in mind it's showing up in the later portion, which potentially means we could be talking like a year from now. Like it's going to be a long time before we see what that event actually looks like. Same with Sket Dance. Now, I'm really interested in Sket Dance because I always assumed that eventually we would get Gintama X Sket Dance as a crossover unit, but this is a standalone event. Crossover event. This is a standalone event for Sket Dance, which is cool. A series that has not got much attention. Even like the main roster has hardly gotten any attention. Like they barely added the 3 main characters, and that's it. So the fact that we'll be getting an actual full feature festival, I'm quite excited for. I don't know the series that well, but I know there's still... I mean, pretty much the entire series is untouched, so plenty to work with. And hopefully the main 3 get version 2s, because they do deserve it. And we have a mystery series. Now, mystery series, let me think about it. Last year, mystery crossover, which ended up being Black Cat and To Love Ru. But then they also said a mystery series. So what series got a feature festival that wasn't already in the game? I guess... Oh, maybe the mystery thing was the Kawashita Sensei Feature Festival. But it could have also just as easily been Stone Ocean. Yeah, I guess that's fair. So that mystery, I mean, that could be a new series. That could be anything. And they also mentioned special series being added to the game. One after the other. And multiple new series are going to be added. Now, the special series part, I don't really know what I mean by special series. I think we're all hoping that's going to be Jump Plus series, or that's going to be spin-off series from the main series, like Kinnikuman Nisei and Dragon Ball Super, or that's going to be Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't know. There's so many things we're hoping that'll be. I don't really know what it will be, but the multiple new series they have announced. Now, obviously, we know Anedoki, Hatsukoi Limited, and Lilum Kiss are going to be added in February, but additionally, they have plans to add Gunblaze West, Mieru Hito, M0, DNA... is it DNA 2? Or is it just DNA? Or is it DNA squared? I don't know. And then Koisome Momiji, Lycopen Tomatoi Poodle, and Taizo Mote King Saga. Now, what's interesting about these is, other than, I think, 2 of them, they are all in some way related to other series already in the game. They are made by an author that is already in the game. So, you know, with us getting the Sensei feature, could that be something they have planned moving forward, more Sensei features? Or could it be a case of this is an opportunity to feature a bunch of series that haven't got any attention? I don't know. But it's very, very interesting. And they have said that this is for July, 55th anniversary of Jump. So my hopes of us getting stuff for that in terms of like moving on from 2018, getting announced for the 55th anniversary of Jump, seems to be out the window. However, they could always release an event like this and say, here's some more stuff coming in the future. So hopes not quite dashed just yet. And this is really cool. I mean, one of the things I said was I just want to see new series. I want to see new stuff getting featured. And this year we have Magical Patissier Kosaki-chan. We have 3 new series in the Mizuki Kawashia Sensei feature. We have Stone Ocean. We have potentially the Naruto one, which they said would be added at some point, the Scarlet Spring and the 7th Hokage, but potentially some other stuff. And we have these new series added, bunch of new series added. What is it, like 7 new series? That's pretty cool. For me, that's pretty cool. We're also getting attention to some series that have been in the game but have not got on a feature festival yet. Kuroko no Basuke, Sket Dance, Medaka Box. Black Cat to Lover is not a feature festival, it's a crossover, but still. Like, very good. Very, very, very good. So, I'm hoping this is a positive, you know, this is a step in the right direction. I know a lot of people will see that list of new series and be like, who the hell cares? But this is a game about Jump. It's about, there's so many different series in Jump over the years. It just has a certain feeling to it when there's a bunch of stuff in it. Some stuff you're not even familiar with, but it's just like, this is how big Jump is. This is how many series there are in the game. And you get to experience cool new characters you might not have got to experience. And it might be an excuse to go and read some of these series. So I think it's 100%, I'm fully on board. I mean, I'm definitely one of those people, like when I played Ori Collection and they released Kimetsu no Yaiba, at the time, I hadn't read Kimetsu no Yaiba. I was like, who is Tanjiro? What even is this? And I ended up going and reading it as a result of that, and I loved it. And then down the line, we've got the anime come out, and now everyone's watching it, everyone's reading it. So there is every possibility you could read one of these series and it could be like your new favorite. But this could be your entry point to these series. I know a lot of these series are a lot older. A lot of these series have been cancelled, and so they're not that long. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it, so it's fine. I think out of all of the ones they've announced, only one of them is ongoing, which is Lycopen the Tomatoi Poodle. I think all of the others are done. I could be wrong, but I think that's right. So it's new, it's interesting. I like doing interesting. The execution, well, we'll see. And they are adding My Ship customization after the 5th anniversary. That's probably not going to be for a while. They've really, I think each time it says My Ship rank increase, that's an increase of 10, I reckon. So we're at 60 right now. December, that'll be 70. February, that'll be 80. And I think it says My Ship customization later, because I think we're still going to get 90 and then 100, and then we'll get My Ship customization. So I think that'll be, I don't know, maybe August next year, something like that. And in Super Tower, they still haven't really released any information on Super Tower. They said it's going to be like Tower, but more towery, basically. So if you enjoy Tower, it's going to be an enhanced Tower playing experience. And if you hate Tower, it's going to be a far worse Tower playing experience. So look forward to that. And a new high difficulty adventure that will require you to make good use of the hidden potential system. Again, this could tie in to what I mentioned before, the adventure difficulty potentially being like a training forest from a BTC. Something along those lines. Or it could be something they stole from another game. Why not? Steal everything while you're at it. Like the awakening system on Dokkan that involves the, Easy A's. Like, steal that if you want. It's fine. As long as it works, it's fine. And that's about it. I think that's about it. There's still some things I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't see, like the World Cup, obviously, and any of the 2018 Plus series, any of the like Jump Plus potentially spin-offs and whatever. But ultimately, I am not disappointed in this roadmap. There are things I am disappointed about it having, like Kimetsu no Yaiba, but I'll live. And you know, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good moving into the next year. There's at least a lot of interesting stuff to look forward to, and potentially a lot of options of things that I'm happy to have in the game, but I don't need to summon on, and that could be a good opportunity to save and actually have enough rubies when they do release the next Densetsu character. So, if you've watched this far, thank you very much. Let me know in the comments which you are looking forward to most from the next roadmap, which event tickles your fancy the most. For me, probably out of all of them, probably the Kawashita Sensei Festival is probably the one that's like stand out the most to me as something that could be potentially very, very interesting, especially because I know how they handle February's. I know that's going to be a packed month, and I know it's going to have the Tower anniversary and the Sparks anniversary, and potentially there's just going to be so much cool stuff happening in February. Obviously Jump Festa as well, but Jump Festa could easily be very disappointing. It could literally be, guys, we're at Jump Festa, here's 100 rubies. Go buy tickets to Jump Festa, or go look at the exhibitions online, or go look at this video, or whatever. Like, they could easily just not do anything with it, or they could do something crazy with it. So I'm hoping for something crazy, but let's be real. I'm definitely excited for February. I'm definitely excited for Medaka Box. There's so much stuff I'm excited for. Let me know what you're most excited for in the comments. And I don't know when the next video is going to be, but I will see you then.